I've been getting a lot of questions about how I create new flavors or how I think about new flavor combinations or how to transfer something into a macaron version. So I thought I would quickly walk through my process here so that you can try the same thing in your kitchen. Step 1, my advice is to go somewhere. I highly recommend for your own palate and for your experiences and for your flavor ideas to go to new cafes, places you've been before but haven't tried all of their things, or even just looking at something in a new light, or even just a grocery store, a market, a bakery, anywhere, just go somewhere. Step 2 is to try something, and I especially recommend you try something new. While you can base your macaron flavors or get flavor ideas from old favorites, I think your mind is a bit more open to the process of really investigating the flavors and textures and elements of something that is unfamiliar. So whether that's a cake, a cookie, a drink, a plated dessert, anything, I really recommend it be new. Now, step 3 is very fun and also super important. The third step is to taste whatever it is you got, whether that's a drink or a dessert or whatever it is, but kind of part 2 of step 3 is that you really should record your thoughts. So bring a notebook, a piece of paper, your phone, something. Step 4 then is to take those thoughts, and this is why it's really, I think, important to write everything down, is to then we want to transition those notes and thoughts and ideas into what could be possible as a macaron. So thinking about the flavors, thinking about the textures. Was it crunchy? Was it soft? Was it covered in chocolate? Were there fresh fruits? What are all of the elements you just ate, and how could that transform into a macaron shell or a macaron filling? After all that is done, it is time for step 5, the experimentation. It's time to bake. So I know this is a little bit confusing, just the steps themselves, so let's do one together. I'm bringing you along here. I just went into this little bakery after I got groceries the other day, and I picked up one of their seasonal muffins and also scones. So I brought those home with me. I'm back at my desk. I have my notebook where I keep all of my flavor and macaron ideas, and I'm going to dig in to these 2 treats and write down all of my notes, go through this entire process with you. First up is the scone. Now, as I mentioned, it's important to take notes, but also I think it's important to taste things and try things little by little, right? The point of this is a flavor exploration, more than just enjoying a dessert. Obviously, I want you to enjoy it too, but this process is maybe more suited to a solo adventure. If you try to do this while you're with your friends and family, they might go a little crazy, unless your friends and family are doing the same thing. So first up, I'm just going to take little bites and little tastes and start writing down what I notice. I noticed that the glaze had a sort of slight vanilla flavor, but it wasn't overwhelming. I noticed that there were fresh cranberries as opposed to dried cranberries. I noticed that the texture was very cake-like. Some scones have a very buttery, dense texture, but this one If you just gave me a bite and didn't tell me it was a scone, I might have assumed it was a cupcake or even a piece of cake. It was really light and fluffy. So with those thoughts in mind, I'm going to start drawing a little mock-up macaron on the other side of my paper and start thinking about, okay, so that scone had a glaze, there were cranberries, and it tasted kind of like cake to me. So I definitely want to replicate that glaze, and I think a glaze works really well as a royal icing for macarons. So that is definitely something I want to include. Now that I've thought about the outside and the appearance, I want to start thinking about the inside. What do I want in there? And because this really tasted cake-like to me, I have a couple thoughts already in my mind. The first is to add actual cake, right? Make this a little bit more complex, add more elements. And I think that the inside could be a circle of cake itself. I think that's a great way to add in those fresh cranberries, because kind of like the scone, the cranberries could be baked into the cake. And then outside, maybe just a vanilla buttercream. Again, I tasted that vanilla flavor. It was kind of vanilla cake-like. So I think that would pair really well. Another option, though, if you don't want to put actual cake inside, I could also make a cranberry compote or make some sort of like a jam or something, again, to get that kind of fresh cranberry element involved. And I also am thinking I could make a cake batter buttercream, right, to really still add in that vanilla cake sort of flavor. So now that I have my macaron ideas and my sketches, I'm just going to go through here with my red Sharpie and show how I included all of those first flavor and texture notes into what ended up being my macaron brainstorming. All right, let's do one more together. I have this very plain looking muffin that was one of the seasonal flavors. It had a bunch of kind of unusual elements. It was a carrot, pineapple, honey muffin. And while I've done a lot of carrot cake kind of stuff before, and I've done many honey related things, I don't use a ton of pineapple, so that was what really drew me in. And I think there could be a lot of fun ways to play around with this as a macaron. But first, I of course want to taste the muffin, sketch out just what it looked like to me in case I forget, and draw out all of my notes. Again, thinking not only about those main flavors we get from the title, but what is the texture like? Are there other ingredients in there I'm noticing? Is it really sweet? Is it not so sweet? What is the strongest flavor? All of those things are super important so that when we go to make a macaron, if I am debating between two elements or what should be more prominent or what's an important texture to include, that I already have all of that written down so I can have a direction to go in. And of course, you obviously don't have to make it exactly like what you're tasting, but especially if you're trying to branch out and do something new and push your boundaries a little further, I think it's a really great idea to try to mimic something else. So I'm just going to do that same process again where I draw a little macaron and I'm going to start labeling what elements could be which different flavors or components. Because the muffin was not so sweet and honey was in the name, I really thought it was important to include honey buttercream, and so especially to get a really intense honey flavor, I like to go for a honey Swiss meringue buttercream where you can substitute out some of your sugar with honey very easily, and it creates a really delicate, beautiful flavor. Especially depending on the honey you use, you could go in a lot of different directions of floral notes or more earthy notes, or use local products. So that's a really fun, exciting prospect for me too. I also love my carrot cake recipe I have, but I've never tried doing it with pineapple, especially for a macaron. So I would really love to play with that some more. And I really liked the crunch from the walnuts in this muffin, so I think that could be a really fun texture and appearance for the outside of the macaron. Because this muffin was quite simple, I don't necessarily want to go for anything really dramatic or painted or shaped, so I think doing a simple shell would be really great. Again, I'm just going to come through here with my red Sharpie and point out how I included all of the different elements and flavors and tastes into my macaron sketch. Now, I am pausing here after step 4. I'm not doing step 5, the bake, but I'm going to gift you these macaron brainstorms. If you want to try out these ideas based off of the scone and muffin that I tasted and try creating a version of these in your own kitchen, I think that would be a very fun challenge and a really structured way to start trying to create new flavors. So I'm going to leave that up to you. I hope you enjoyed this look into my process for how I create new macaron flavors, especially based off of things I am tasting and eating in my local community and while I travel. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would love it if you would consider that. I have a ton of ideas and things to share with you in the next couple of weeks. I would love you to be here for that. All right, until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye.